The View tab. Since Revit is one big happy model, you will quickly find that simply viewing the model will become quite important. Within Revit, there is some functionality that you can take advantage of in the form of the navigation bar. To activate the navigation bar, click on the View tab, click on the User Interface button under Windows panel and check navigation bar. One item we need to look at on the navigation bar is the steering wheel. The steering wheel allows you to zoom, rewind and pan. When you pick the steering wheel icon, a larger control panel will appear in the view window. To choose one of the options, you simply pick one of the options and hold the pick button as you execute the maneuver. To use the steering wheel, follow along. Click and hold the zoom choice on the steering wheel control panel. You can now zoom in and zoom out. Click and hold the rewind button in the steering wheel. You can now find an older view. Do the same for the pan choice. The pan function is found on the outer ring of the steering wheel. Once you press and hold pan, you can navigate to the other parts of the model. Although you can do all of this with your wheel button, some users still prefer the icon method of panning and zooming. For those of you who prefer the icons for the previous items, you will also want to use the icon for additional zooms as well. Traditional zooms. The next items on the navigation bar are the good old zoom controls that you are used to. The ability to zoom in, zoom out and pan are all included in this function. Of course, if you have a mouse with a wheel, you can zoom and pan by either holding down the wheel to pan or by wheeling the button to scroll in and scroll out. Back on the View tab, you will see an icon called the thin lines. Let's talk about what this icon does. In Revit, there is no such thing as layers. Line weights are controlled by the actual objects they are representing. In the view window, you see these line weights. What you see is what you get. Sometimes, however, these line weights may be too thick for smaller scale views. By clicking the thin lines icon, you can force the view to display only the thinnest lines possible to still see the objects. The line width should concern you. As mentioned earlier, there is no such thing as layers in Revit. To toggle thin lines back and forth or on or off, click thin lines. To turn off thin lines, click on thin lines to view thin lines. Default 3D. This icon actually brings us to a new dimension. Click on Default 3D icon. On the View control bar, click the Model Graphics Style button and choose Shaded. Again, on the View control bar, select Shadows Off to turn the shadows on. Within the 3D view is the View cube. It is the cube in the upper right corner of the view window. You can now switch to different perspective of the model by picking on the quadrants of the cube. You can even pivot the model just by holding the pick button or left click. What if I say go back to the floor plan? This brings us to a quite important topic in Revit, the project browser. The project browser will be discussed in the next video. Thank you.